Hello. Konnichiwa. I was like, what time is it? Should I say good morning or good afternoon or what? I don't actually know if there is a way to say good afternoon, like properly. Shall we look? Because I know... Okay, hi. Welcome to week 8. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, 1 second. Sorry, team. One moment. Just gotta make this make sense for me. Okay. Okay, 1 second. What the fuck am I doing? Law versus Go. We're gonna be looking at that today. Let me just clip my thing onto my thing. Hi. What's up? I'm at home again today recording this. I do have class this evening, a little bit later. But yeah, I was thinking like maybe I would record again at school, but that was a little bit of a chaotic recording and there was a lot of noises going on, so I just thought I may as well get it done now before I leave, and then we can, I don't know. I feel like if I do it here, then I'll actually feel able to like spend time and Google things and, have like an actual review session. So, yeah, okay, sorry. Okay, so I'm playing Hogwarts Legacy. So, like, a lot of my recent Googles have been Hogwarts Legacy related. Say good afternoon. Okay, so konnichiwa, that's what I thought. It's just like the general good afternoon. Yeah, okay. Anyways, let's get into it. So yeah, I didn't do too much from last week. I basically did like a couple study sessions. I've been going on a lot like longer walks lately, both outside and just on my treadmill. I have an underdesk treadmill. But yeah, sometimes when I go on my walks, I do feel able and willing and excited to, listen to a little bit more Japanese podcasts and like learn some new stuff or whatever. But sometimes I go on my walks and I'm just like, I just want to enjoy the outdoors. I just kind of want silence. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a balance of both. But yeah, on one of my walks, I listened to a few more of the Japanese with Masa Sensei podcasts. So let's go over. So adverbs of degree and frequency. I feel like these ones are really useful to know. So yoku. Yoku is well. So like if you say that you... Hold on, I think I have a example. Maybe not. Okay, so for example, if you say you can play tennis well, to play tennis is tennisu wo shimasu, to do tennis, basically. So I wonder if it would be yoku tennisu wo shimasu or tennisu wo shimasu. Yoku. But then wouldn't that be jozu? Am I thinking jozu? Because jozu is to do something well. Oh, okay. Hold on. Wait. Nihongo ga skoshi wakarimasu. Okay, so that's an example. So we can use that kind of structure for yoku. You could say, Nihongo ga yoku wakarimasu. So I understand Japanese well. There you go. And then zenzen is not at all. So that's usually negative, but I've also heard it in a positive sense as well. Maybe that's not right. I'm just thinking of like, if somebody says you're good at something, then you can be like zen, like not at all. Just like being humble or whatever. Or if somebody's asking if it's okay to do something, I've also heard zen daijoubu, which means like it's completely okay. So I don't know if like technically that is a negative, but it's saying like, because daijoubu is like it's okay. So to put zen in front of it, then you would think it would be like that's not okay. That's not okay at all, but it's the opposite. At least I think that's how I understand. How to use zen daijoubu. Why does, yeah, daijoubu zenzen or zenzen daijoubu mean perfectly fine? Yeah. Zenzen is really only negative when used with a negative verb or used alone. Okay, I understand. So, okay, that makes more sense. So zenzen means more wholly, entirely, or completely. But if you pair it with a negative verb, then it becomes negative. So I guess that kind of makes sense. I feel like there's a lot of words that are like that like kind of, you know, can swing one way or the other, like change context or change meaning depending on the context. So that's good to know. And then we have takusan. Takusan is many or a lot of, not to be confused with totemo. Totemo is like very. So takusan is more for like an amount of something. There's like a lot of something, versus totemo is like it's very something. Which, let me confirm that. Totemo versus takusan. Well, totemo means very. Takusan is an adjective meaning a lot of. Yes. Describing noun quantity. Yeah. Yeah. So that makes sense. Takusan, and then skoshi is a little bit. Skoshi. Sukoshi. So yeah, same this example. Nihongo ga skoshi wakarimasu. I understand Japanese a little bit. And then eigo. Okay, so here's the other one. Eigo ga yoku dekimasu. Oh, okay, so this was something that Masa Sensei said in the podcast. Sorry, it's like really dark in here. It's a very gloomy day today. Is that better? I don't really like that. It's very gloomy today, so there's not a lot of light coming in. But it is like noon. Yeah, sorry. So one of the things that Masa Sensei said in the podcast is that the verb dekimasu is describing like the ability to do something. So if you say dekimasu or dekiru is the informal version, you're saying whether or not you can do something, whether or not you are able to do the thing. And so when speaking about languages, you can use the language and then combine dekimasu with it to mean that you can speak the language, or you like can use the language basically. Instead of using specific words like understand or speaking, you can use dekimasu. So, eigo ga yoku dekimasu. So that's like, I can do English well. I can speak, understand, whatever, English well. Yeah, dekimasu. Pretty useful word. I've noticed it a lot since learning that word and then watching more episodes of like Terrace House and stuff. Like people use it a lot for a bunch of different stuff. So, dekimasu. Or dekimasen, which is the negative. Okay, and then okane ga takusan or zenzen arimasu or arimasen. So yeah, takusan we can use here because okane is money. So if you're saying I have a lot of money, okane ga takusan arimasu. Or if you want to say you don't have any money, okane ga zenzen arimasen. I don't have money at all. Boki. And then, so this next one talks about why, words for why, and how to say because something, which is very useful. Let me zoom out here, because, okay. So the word why, there's like a bunch of different ways that you can say why, and I was Googling this, they kind of mean different things, or not mean different things, but like have different vibes, I guess. So there's どうして and なんで and なぜ。どうして、なんで and なぜ。So どうして、どう means how. なんで nan means what. And then なぜ I don't know. So for どうして instead of just why, it's more like how come. And then for nande, instead of just why, it's more like for what reason. So there's a bit of nuance between that. How come and for what reason. And then naze is why, but like kind of formal and non-emotional. Whereas doste and nande are emotional. So some examples I have here is like, どうして is like, why did you end up here? Versus なんで is like, for what reason are you here? Right? It's a little bit different. And both of those are like emotional questions, right? It's like, why this? I want to know, how come? Versus なぜ is more like knowledge seeking. So it's like, I don't know, why, it's like, why is the sky blue or whatever. Like if you're asking like maybe a scientific question or something, you could use naze. But if you use naze for like if somebody said like, oh, I just broke up with my boyfriend, whatever, and you say naze, then that will come across as a little bit cold because naze is not an emotional way to ask why. You would say doste or nande as like a emotional response to that question, to that statement, right? Okay, and then kara you put at the end of a sentence, and that makes it because. That makes the sentence like an explanation using the word because. So, example. Oh, I didn't put the tick-ticks. Oopsie. Right? Because that's supposed to say naze? Naze Nihon, yeah. Okay. Naze Nihon ni kimashita ka? Why did you come to Japan? Nihon ga suki desu kara. Nihon ga suki desu kara. So, saying Nihon ga suki desu means I like Japan. Adding kara at the end turns it into because I like Japan. Nihon ga suki desu kara. So that's, pretty clear, makes a lot of sense. And then, so another note for ryori, which I'm not exactly sure how to use this, because I've heard, when people talk about cooking or whatever. So ryori is cooking, but the verb to do cooking, so I guess ryori, So the verb, sorry, let me finish my thought. The verb to do cooking is ryori o shimasu. Ryori o shimasu. So shimasu is to do something. So let me search up ryori versus 料理をします。What is the difference between 料理をします and nope? 料理 okay, so 料理 I don't wanna trust the AI overview. 料理する and so yeah, that's kind of what I thought. So 料理 by itself is a noun, maybe, and 料理をする makes it into a verb. Putting noun 料理 plus する do, you can make a single verb, yeah. So 料理 okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So I guess like when you're just talking about cooking, like, oh, that person is good at cooking. Cooking is a noun. So you would say, あの人は料理が上手です. Do I use が there? が because が料理 let's see 料理が上手です が okay, hold on. So how does が work again? が would be used if I said 料理をする because が marks who or what performs the action. Okay. So I guess it would be あの人は料理 I don't actually know. Let me just translate it. That person is a good cook. あの人は料理が上手だ。料理が上手です。料理が上手。How to say someone is good at something in Japanese. Shut the fuck up. 上手です. Yeah, okay. I'm good at something. So私は料理が上手です。Oh, okay. あの人は料理が上手です。So, I was right? Question mark? 料理が上手。上手 is a verb, right? To be good at something. So I guess 料理が上手. I'm trying to like make it make sense. I'm trying to like use what I understand and like turn it into a formula. But whatever, that's what it is. So what was I saying? What was my main point that I was trying to fucking say here? Okay, so 料理が上手 cooking, good at cooking. But if you were to say 料理が下手からどうして料理をしませんですか? Why don't you cook? So I guess in that instance, why don't you do cooking? That's a verb. And then the answer would be 料理が下手ですから. Because I'm bad at cooking. I don't really understand. I guess I'm not a fucking linguist. I feel like the nuances between a noun versus a verb, or like how words are structured, because I know, sometimes nouns can be turned into verbs or like used as a verb or whatever. So it's difficult for me to like be like, okay, so if the rule is this, I'm trying to come at it like it's, black and white, which language is not. Okay, anyway, sorry, moving on. So, lesson is that ryori is a noun, means cooking or cuisine or whatever, and ryori o shimasu is to do cooking, a verb. Okay, and exactly how to use that we just don't know yet, but I'm sure we will learn. Okay. Okay. And then, yeah, so remember this one from the last week or whatever? I stumbled upon this and, I was trying to learn a little bit better the difference between wa and ga. Yeah, I thought it would be good to... Wait, this is not it. I thought it would be good to come back and try and spend some time with the article. 80-20 Japanese wa versus ga. Here we go. This one. Okay, yeah. So basically, a very good article. Highly recommend this website, and like they have a book as well as a resource that I'm thinking about buying because like, damn, the way this guy explains things is like so good. Yeah, so basically, in this article, they talk about the differences between wa and ga and when to use them, at least from like a zoomed out perspective. I know it's like much more complicated and there are like certain exceptions and things like that, but so wa in general is the topic marker, ga is the subject marker. So the topic is what we're talking about, the context of a sentence. And then the subject is the who or what that performs the action, or the who or what that exists or doesn't exist when we use like arimasu and imasu. So wa, therefore, is used to give context to a sentence, to clarify what it is that we're talking about or who it is that we're talking about. Whereas ga brings in, it's not giving context, it's bringing in new information and knowing the context, and it kind of emphasizes that new information as important. So when you use, so for example, some of the example sentences or whatever that is explained in the article is, so using wa, Taro wa hon o kaimashita. So it's saying that Taro bought a book, but using wa, it's more like, as for Taro, so Taro wa is like in the context of Taro, he bought a book. So it's like, as for Taro, or speaking of Taro, he bought a book. So it's very like kind of vaguely, lightly mentioning, we're talking about Taro right now, he bought a book. Versus using ga, you would say, it puts emphasis on Taro and like brings in Taro's name as new information. So it's like, Taro ga hon kimashita. Sorry, kaimashita. What was I saying before? Kaimashita is bought. It was Taro that bought a book. So, if you were just saying something, right? If you're just saying like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Hey, by the way, Taro wa hon o kaimashita. This is all, new information, so you have to give context. Speaking of Taro, he bought a book. versus like if somebody were to say, 誰が本を買いましたか? Like, who bought a book? Then you could say, 太郎が本を買いました. It was Taro that bought a book. So you're bringing in this new information that is Taro and placing ga there, because he's the one who bought the book. It's putting importance on what comes before it. This is new information. Taro was the one who bought the book. Or you can use neither wa or ga if the context is obvious. So for example, if somebody asks, Taro wa 今日何をしましたか? Taro wa 今日何をしましたか? So this means, what did Taro do today? So Taro wa, speaking of Taro, 今日 today, 何をしましたか? What did he do? So we know that the context is talking about today and Taro. So you don't have to include Taro in your answer because it's already understood in the context. 本を買いました. You could just say 本を買いました. He bought a book. And you don't have to use he because people don't really use pronouns and whatever in Japanese as much. So yeah. 本を買いました. You don't have to specify who because it's understood. You don't have to specify when because that's understood. So yeah, that's kind of the general takeaways of that. I feel like I butchered the explanation. I highly recommend you look at this article and like read it through because it's very like he goes through a bunch of different things. So like this graphic here, the context versus new / important information, that's really useful to just like imagine in your head when you're thinking about this stuff. So this is like the example that I just did. So what did Taro do today? So that Taro and today moves into the context bubble. And then so you can just say he bought a book, right? Yeah, but when you use ga, that's all new information, right? Right. Or another example, 誰が本を買いましたか? So all of the, context is already kind of laid out in this first sentence. 誰が本を買いました? So we know a 本 was bought. Who bought it? You could just say 太郎. 太郎が or, 太郎が買いました. You don't have to say 買いました because we know something was bought. The 本 was bought. So yeah, it's just like, it's the way that English works too, basically. You don't have to repeat yourself when you're answering somebody like, oh, whose birthday was it? You don't have to say, it was my birthday. You could just say mine, Little things like that is cool to learn. So that gave me like a little bit more context in terms of like how to use wa versus ga. I feel like in general, ga is used a lot more than wa because wa being the, marker of a topic or like a clarification of context, you don't have to clarify context too often because you just kind of follow along with the context as you're having a conversation. So only when you need to, clarify the context of what you're talking about would you really use wa in that way. I'm sure there's like other exceptions and other ways to use wa or whatever. But ga, in comparison, would be used much more because you're using it to say like, this is a thing that happened and this is the person who did it, or this is the thing that did it, or, whatever. So that's, it's just creating a new sentence. It's giving new information, which happens often. So yeah, that's it. That's it for today. Yeah. Gonna keep studying and having fun and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. that's all. I gotta make dinner. Damn, it's really raining out there. Yikes. When I go to class, because parking is like, I don't know, $8 or something. I don't want to pay that in the parkade. I park like down a big ass hill by like some like residential area or like a little park or whatever. And I have to walk up the hill. So, oh, I don't know if you can hear that. My rice is ready. So that's gonna be fun to walk in. Hopefully it stops raining. But yeah, I gotta go make my dinner because my classes are in the evening and it's kind of a weird time, you know, it's like right around dinner time that it starts, so I kind of need to eat before, so I'm gonna bring my dinner with me. Yeah, I'm making tuna maki, my go-to. But yes, okay, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys next week with more Japanese. Okay, bye.